coming to you live from deep within a windy and icy radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right keck-apocalypse. Once more wading, the few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the froggy, lobster, shaggy hordes with Velma creator Mindy Kaling thinks men's lives are a barrel of laughs. Too bad Velma isn't.
All right, that sucked a lot, Alison.
Aww.
You do not have a face for radio, as they say, because usually that means voice talent.
Yeah, well, at least I'm here. I'm present.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah, also, as are you.
Also me. Yeah. And my radio face is like getting worse and worse every day. So.
Aw.
Hey, I'm an old bitch. Just.
Yeah, you are truly becoming one of the zombies in the horde.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like atrophying as we speak. I can feel it. So.
Has nothing to do with the subject matter whatsoever.
No, neither does your. I think honestly, you could make that your brand. Just like I butcher the intro.
The intro.
I butcher it a different time. I butcher it a different way every time. And
it's sort of like Mindy Kaling's brand. She butchers a show a different way every time.
There you
no, actually no, because she's butchering it the same way.
Yeah, it's always kind of the same.
It's a self-insert. Yeah. It's always a completely unsympathetic self-insert. All right. Shall we begin?
So do you want to tell them what we're doing?
Velma.
Oh no, let's just dump it on them, like just throw it into their face.
Okay.
Okay, what we're doing Velma.
Yeah, just drop it on the audience the way you dropped it on me 5 minutes ago. Right? Oh, by the way, we're doing Velma again. Yeah, no. And it's like, if you'd told me that this morning, I'd have been, you can go fuck yourself, Alison. I'm not doing Velma again. But, nope, you were smart.
No, actually, it's gotten worse. It is actually getting worse.
I knew it was going to get worse. How could it get better?
Yeah.
It was always going to get worse. That's why I didn't want to see any more of it.
Yeah. Well,
okay, I'm trying to explain my perspective here, right? That's why you knew you had to trick me into coming on thinking I was going to be doing something like interesting.
Just like she had to trick everyone into watching this in the first place by appropriating a pre-existing intellectual property.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just saying, I think that there's something we, as men's rights advocates, can add to the criticism of this show, despite being totally cringe. What we can add is a little bit more of the context of her nonsense, and look at it in terms of what she's really expressing about herself and women and men. And I think that by adding something to it, we create something of value. Thus, it's worthwhile to be here and do this. I know you probably disagree, Karen.
No, it's worthwhile. It's just I don't want to be the one who has to do it. Just like scooping dog shit is worthwhile. I don't want to do it, though.
Yeah, fair enough. So. And also, honestly, this is so... How much more on the nose can they get with their condemnation of men? And this woman's belief that she can just opine about the experience of men without apparently ever having interacted with one. It's like watching one of those, those alien comic strips, and they're talking about human behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Mindy Kaling.
Kaling. Whatever.
Calling.
Whatever. It reminds me of this joke that Robert Sapolsky tells at the start of his human behavioral biology course program every year, right? Okay, at Stanford University. He says, okay, so the aliens come down and they want to learn about us, and we want to learn about them, and so and they sexually reproduce, and we sexually reproduce, and we want to know how all of that stuff works. So the aliens demonstrate their form of reproduction, which means they all gather in a circle and they're going beep boop boop, and there's like one alien in the middle, right? And all the aliens in the circle go beep boop beep boop beep boop beep boop, and then like pop, the alien in the middle splits into two aliens, and it's like, wow, okay. And so then they show how humans reproduce, and they're like, the aliens are all okay, so what happens now? And they're like, oh, we wait 9 months. And then the aliens are like, so why were they in such a hurry at the end?
I think Mindy has an inability to see men as human, quite simply. And it's actually really disturbing when you see how she treats like her, Lee Pace, one of her male co-stars. And I don't think she understands men have a mind. And it's really, really disturbing because it's like that feminist conception of objectification, except she's doing it. Like that she writes and what she's done. It's like, are you aware that men are sentient beings? Or do you think there's some kind of pet that exists for your own amusement? Which incidentally would make you a terrible pet owner.
Yeah, no, because your pets also are sentient.
Have needs, yeah, and are sentient. But you know what I get. You know what I'm getting at. Like I don't think this woman understands the concept of other people, perhaps not even men, just other people being sentient creatures separate from her needs. And she's constructed a self-insert that has to be the most unlikable,
self-indulgent.
Yeah, well, it's not even. It's like she's gone out of her way to make her self-insert unlikable to an unbelievable degree. And I mean, because even when, like, you have the 12-year-old girl who writes Mary Sue Sparkles, who's like the youngest ensign who's ever been on the bridge of the Star Harry Potter's Star Trek Enterprise, whatever, and she has every single. I mean, those characters have more sympathetic traits because they're not outright evil,
Yeah,
like,
no. They're like just super good at everything, but they aren't bad. It's like the what's her name in the new Star Wars films, the girl who's like the Jedi, and she just learns it all within the space of like a week.
Oh, Ray?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
by instinct. Yeah, no, and it's like so. Okay,
Ray is a bit of a void,
Yeah, but to some degree, Luke Skywalker was that, right? In the first,
he still struggled, and he had a great moral arc in the end.
Yes, but he, he did pick things up very quickly. He was a super genius. But
that's fine.
Super geniuses exist. I'm willing. There are actually
horrible. He also went through a horrible experience on screen as well, which tends to give sympathy for a character, right?
Yes, and there are Doogie Housers out there that actually exist, and finish high school at age 11, and then go on to like university, and then go to med school at like 15 or 16. There are people out there who do that. So. Not many.
Okay.
Yeah, and
they exist.
Sorry, but it was fighting back. It was putting up a good goddamn fight. The thing is that I think I know what she's trying to go for, because House, right? That was a male character who was a bit of an asshole, right? A bit.
One?
Okay, a lot of one.
Yeah,
but he was very
super
he was very
asshole.
competent. The way they made him sympathetic was he was quite competent, and he was always saving people. And his assholery got the job done.
Well, and also they made him sympathetic because he had a lifelong injury that caused him chronic pain.
Yeah.
And he was addicted to opioids. Right?
Yeah.
So, there was this sort of undercurrent of, he is super brilliant, but he ain't perfect. He has, and his being an asshole isn't his only flaw, right? Part of his flaw is being in constant pain and having to deal with that the only way he really has figured out how to do it, and living with someone who's in constant pain and trying to figure out, how do we manage that without risking addiction is not an easy task. Managing like chronic full body muscle and bone pain that's always there. It's just a matter of, is it bad or is it very bad? And and so it's like, you
can understand the tetchiness.
Yeah, you really can. And you can really understand why someone would need to like constantly wanting to subject themselves to endorphins. So, exercising or sex or whatever, right? They just
in order to get past the pain.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause it's a sympathetic motivation. You have at least somewhat of a reason for why he's an asshole. It's something outside of his control. And this is what you have to do with male characters, because this is what I think that Mindy thinks that male characters get. She thinks that she can create this unsympathetic female character, or there's no thought process behind it at all, and she really is just someone who's been arrested years ago. But
she can create an asshole female character, protagonist, mind you, right? But she doesn't have to make that asshole female protagonist, that female antihero, sympathetic.
Well, she does, because nobody likes her.
Well, she just made an anti-hero asshole protagonist, but didn't include anything sympathetic.
Yeah, and she seems to think that men get away with being the asshole protagonist without, one, being competent, and two, having some kind of sympathetic motive, and three, if that asshole doesn't actually do good things with his competencies, he will rapidly be put in a category of dirty coward and useless. So you can have an anti-hero, a male anti-hero who's caustic and cynical and aggressively sort of abusive, but he has to have a reason that's sympathetic, or it has to be hinted to if you don't want to reveal it. He has to be competent, and he has to use those competencies in order to save puppies or babies or women.
Like John Wick.
Yeah. So it's like you don't get male characters do not get away with just, slapping their feted testicles on the and saying everyone suck them. It doesn't, you don't get away. You just don't get away with that, with teabagging your audience with a male character. But somehow Mindy thinks you do. And what's really interesting about this is that, of course, Velma is a self-insert for Mindy. So she has absolutely no sympathetic qualities. I think that she's trying to say that she gets to be an asshole because she's oppressed, because she's an Asian woman.
Yeah.
Even though that category actually makes more than white women, and almost as much as white men.
Yeah, no, and you look at Asian women in particular, and I mean, they don't suffer from any kind of lack of being considered attractive, lack of being considered competent, lack of
being attacked by the police.
Yeah, they're not
judicial bias.
Yeah, no.
There's nothing there. Like, really, that's why Asian people are derided as the model minority, because they do civilization better than white people.
Yeah.
But and incidentally, civilization is not white. Tell
Yeah,
that to
no.
the Chinese, the Chinese Empire never
The
mind.
dynasties and
The dynasties that were
mentioned that
existing.
to someone who was like living in the Fertile Crescent for 4,500 years ago, right? So
yeah, when people in Northern Europe were still, picking lice out of each other's hair.
yeah, the inventors of the base 10 number system and mathematics and the number 0. Right.
Anyway, but my overall point is that I think what she's trying to say is I'm sympathetic. My flaw is that I'm not white, and also I'm not a man, and I don't get the privileges of white men. Therefore, you should sympathize for my plight. I'm horribly disabled.
Oppressed.
Therefore, my being an asshole is completely understandable.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but Mindy, you're not competent either.
Well.
Obviously, like, you can't write. I mean, if you could, I think you would, right? Like,
okay. But
go ahead.
But okay. So if we have to do this, if we have to watch this, we should probably start watching it.
Okay, well, we'll get into it just a sec because I have to remind everybody. Oh yeah, we have been talking about it though. There's lots of meta here, right? Lots of meta to set up because I have chosen these specific segments in order to look at the psychology of Mindy and her presentation of this self-insert that she has created. But I just want to remind everyone that we are doing our monthly fundraiser. So if you would like to make sure that we can continue to discuss these topics in our own indelible style. Indelible, is that the right word, Karen?
Inimitable.
Inimitable. Inimitable style.
Yeah, like you can't imitate it. It's inimitable.
I won't be able to pronounce that, but unimitatable style. Go to thebadger.com/support and throw a few shekels in the hat. Brian has been doing well. He's right here. You can tell for yourself. He's been really recovering well, so that's really good.
Yes.
So please do help us out for this month. It's been quite a touch and go kind of month. We have about 1,490, actually closer than usual. Thank you to everybody who put in shekels early because that really took a lot of stress off of, I think, myself and Brian, because I know that there was a huge gap there where we weren't really able to do as many shows as we could. I am busy working on being able to stream everything myself. It just involves getting some equipment, putting through some Ethernet cable, setting stuff up. But that still isn't in place. And hopefully, if there's ever another crisis of this kind, I'll be able to take over more of the shows for Brian. But anyway, feedthebadger.com/support. If you want to send a message about our wonderful offering at any point during the show and give us the full benefit of your tip, as well as avoiding YouTube.
Hey, what? Now.
The full benefit of the tip.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'm not going to make the dirty joke.
No, go ahead. No, you have to.
No, my husband gave me that benefit on his birthday.
Oh, was his birthday recently?
Yeah, it was the 20th.
Oh, happy birthday, Karen's husband. So if you want to give us the full benefit of the shekels, you can go to thebadger.com/justthetip, and you also avoid the YouTube censorship. So there you go. Let's, shall we?
Yeah, but first, I have a super chat and a couple of super chows. I mean, the super chows are from yesterday, so I don't know if you guys already read them or.
Probably she has. She just forgot to put done in.
Didn't put done at the end. Right. Okay, so I have a super chat from Albatross for $10, who says, male characters can act as you described because oftentimes they are taken down a peg numerous times. You can't humble a female character because the viewer or Twitter's warriors would cry misogyny.
True.
All right.
True. Yeah, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to give them a full dressing down.
Yeah. You can't even imply that one of their ilk is past their prime.
Oh, are we talking about Nikki Haley and Don Lemon?
Yeah.
That was the dumbest thing. Okay, like he should be fired. Not for misogyny. Okay? Not for that. He should be fired because that is the dumbest thing that any man has ever said on TV. Because Nikki Haley introduced legislation that every politician and federal official, right? Federal politician and official over the age of 75 should undergo a cognitive test because obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Which we're currently living with right now. Because Biden refused to take a cognitive test. And okay, so then he's like, well, she's past her prime at 52 or whatever she is, right? Or 51. He's older than she is, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, Google it. And it's like, yeah, you know what you get when you Google that? You get Andrew Tate saying woman is past her sexual prime by the time she's 40.
Yeah.
Right? For sex, childbirth, right? All of that stuff. A woman is in her prime in her 20s, 30s, maybe early 40s, and then that's it. It's all over for her in terms of her sexual marketplace value.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Okay, not in terms of her cognitive skills. Like, this is the dumbest thing that any human being, male or female, has. Okay. Whoopi Goldberg, close second. Dr. Jill, I think she should be Surgeon General. Oh, no, she's a great doctor. Okay?
Yeah.
She's an amazing doctor of education. All right? Okay, and then Goldberg's, the Holocaust wasn't about race at all. Okay?
Yeah.
So Whoopi Goldberg.
Well, I mean, she might have a point. It's more ethnicity there, but
well, it's about bloodlines.
You know, I wish people would stop minimizing the sheer amount of pain and violence and death that's been caused by ethnic, religious, and political conflicts.
True, but the Jews were considered a race by the Nazis. They were considered to be Untermenschen. They were considered to be a race of inferiors, right? So we're blacks, so we're, other brown-skinned people and whatever, and the Aryan race. And this is how they defined it. It was all by race. So it was just like, no, the Holocaust had a lot to do with race because that's the language that the Nazis wrapped it up in. Right. Yeah. And so Whoopi is like twice after she got freaking put on a 2-week hiatus. Right. For the first comments about it. And then she came back. She made the same or similar comment again. Oh, it wasn't about race at all.
So I got another super chat.
Cool. I did want to say one thing to that whole thing. Okay. There were wise women for a reason. In some cases, women actually get better when they get older.
Yeah.
In terms of their mental function. After they get through menopause.
Yeah,
when they have a bit more perspective, shall we say.
Yeah, because they're not constantly obsessed with, securing a mate, having babies, and blah, 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 right? That part of their life is over. And so now they can focus on everything else.
Well, they can focus on trying to help maintain a society that's functional for their offspring, for one.
Yes. So they're more self-sacrificing.
But like one of the things that just I find hilarious is that he's a feminist, right? Don Lemon.
Yeah, most likely.
I don't know.
Well, or he's leftist of some stripe, right?
Well, so, yeah, he's a gay black dude who works for CNN, so of course he's a leftist of some stripe.
Okay, but it's just I would assume that he's the feminist. If you asked him, he'd probably say he was. So a feminist man is misogynist towards a woman he disagrees with. News at 11.
Yeah.
I know. But it's like it's just like it's so dumb. It was.
Yeah, that is actually really fucking dumb.
It's not that it was misogynist. It's that it was stupid. It's like that's why he should be removed. Why would you even bring that up? Well, she doesn't have nice tits anymore, so she can't be president because she can't do the job without nice tits. Like he might as well have said, well, Nikki Haley's a little over the hill. You're going to need to get a different, younger set of tits over the sink there. Like, what? Like, no,
he's basically saying that old women, you might as well just kill them because they have no use. And then, okay, continue on to the next super chat there, Brian.
So Emu Enforcer gives us $7, which I didn't know you could do $7, and says, glad to hear you're doing better, Brian. Well, thank you. I have appointments in March, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to essentially we'll be able to go down the next step, like change medication, whatever. But thanks for that. I am doing a lot better. Yeah, that's all I can say. So
do you want me to do the super chat?
Yeah, go ahead. Did we
get Amasong? Yeah, we did. Yesterday? We got one. Okay. Amasong gave us $5 and said, now Velma's radioactive. That can't be good.
Oh.
I think she always was. Now it's just visually obvious. Okay, shall we?
Yeah.
And also,
let's
if you
get into the first clip.
Yeah, just a reminder: feedthebadger.com/support. If we don't get anything in, I might do some arm twisting. So be prepared. All right. So you can see it. Do you see a little party with this?
Yes.
With non-shaggy.
Yeah. Non-shaggy with a man bun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. Here we go.
Holy crap! No wonder men are so desperate to hold onto their power. This is the easiest shit ever. As a guy, I can do anything. So I say, lady, I'll give you the parking spot when you stop being a bitch.
Okay, you guys want to say anything? I just hear a lot of sighing.
Look.
Yeah, this is really...
that might have been something that men or women could do as comedians like 20 years ago, but not now.
Yeah.
So.
No. Okay, let's see what else she thinks men's lives are like. Yep. Watch this, Karen. You'll love this one. Oh, do you have anything to say to that? What did it say
on the resume?
It said, I have a resume, or this is my resume. So she, as a man, Velma walks, and it doesn't even matter why she's dressing as a man, because this entire show is just basically anti-male. That's it.
Yeah.
At the same time as it's well with you there, Karen, in your experience.
Yeah, no. My husband works in engineering, and that is a field that is increasingly being taken over by the contractor model. And it used to be it used to be that in an engineering position, if you were a contractor, it's because it takes maybe 6 months to a year to really prove that you can do the job, right? So, the probation period for, in order to qualify for severance like that, and to have to fire with cause, and all of those things, under just general employment law is 3 weeks, right? And that's not long enough to be able to prove that you are going to be proficient in these kinds of positions. So it was understood when he was brought on as a contractor that, you know, if they liked you, if they figured you were competent, they'd put you in for a conversion to employee, and they'd bring you on as an employee. It was just basically your probationary period where they see whether you can do the job before they commit to hiring you, right? Well, sometime in the 5 years between when he talked to a guy who worked at that company, right, who told him, like, this is how it works. You know, if you impress them within 3 to 6 months, right, they'll hire you on, right? Sometime in that 5 years, everything changed to a contractor model, except for women, Black people, and indigenous people, right? So those are the only people that are on, that if they prove themselves, or even if they don't, frankly, right, will actually be converted from a contractor to an employee. Everybody else, particularly white and Asian males, right, because the field is 95% white and Asian males. Everybody else is a contractor for life. That's just the new reality, right? Which means you don't get vacation pay, you don't get paid time off, even for sick leave. If you're not working, you're not being paid. You have to do all of your own taxes and all of that other crap, right? You know, you have to. You're a numbered company. You're not a person, and so you have all that additional responsibility and the expense of having an accountant to do your books for you. You have it's a fire at will contract, so you can be dismissed at any time for any reason or no reason at all. You don't get double time for overtime. You don't get any kind of, or time and a half for overtime. You don't get any kind of benefits, no extended health benefits, no dental, no nothing, right? No prescription meds, nothing. And that's your life from now on if you're a white or Asian male.
So, in other words, the reality is the exact opposite of what she's portraying it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And this is not an isolated thing. This is everywhere.
No,
everywhere.
Yeah.
If you are a white man, you're generally discriminated against, period, openly. And I've had extended conversations with feminists on Twitter who seem to think that something they call stereotype threat justifies open and systemic discrimination against men. And of course, in STEM fields, if you are also an Asian man, you're discriminated against.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is,
if you're an Asian man, you're extra discriminated against. But like, the contractor model is so entrenched now that my husband had coworkers who moved back to China because they were better off there. Because they could have a better lifestyle in China than existing as a contractor.
And it contributes to a culture of delusion that corrodes our understanding of reality. And yet this delusional crap is allowed on air. I mean, we could talk about how bad it is, but at some point, do we recognize that this constant lying about reality has some serious, like, knock-on effects? Mm-hmm. You know, if you constantly shit in the stream of society, eventually you're swallowing shit.
Yes, eventually your drinking water tastes like shit.
Yeah.
Not like Trump water, though.
Trump. That's the best water.
It's the best. It's the most tremendous water. It's the best tasting water on the planet. Believe me.
Okay, I'm gonna play the next segment. Are you fucking kidding me? You know why that is, Mindy? Because if you look at the one on the left, that is not spectacle. That is something with potentially artistic merit, depending on what you were intending to depict. The piece on the right is obviously postmodern. Like, it's spectacle, right? Him putting his ass cheeks.
Yeah, he dips his ass cheeks in paint and puts them on a canvas and then zips up his pants and he's done. That's his art. That is modern art. That is the kind of art that progressives
that's their shit right there. It's kind of weird.
Appreciate. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe she's making fun of progressives here. I don't know.
That's why
maybe this is like some kind of really subversive freaking thing where she's being so blatant about how ridiculous all of these premises are. That
I guess that's possible, but
maybe she's playing a straight man.
Yeah, you mean that she doesn't actually believe this stuff?
Yeah,
like
maybe
it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, no, like there is a point where you can't separate reality from parody. You can't differentiate those two because they're they're exactly the same. So,
you're putting a lot of faith in Mindy.
I'm not putting any faith in Mindy at all. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Because this is so retarded and so self-defeating if she's actually trying to be progressive and use progressive arguments and points to illustrate, that this is her position, right? As a progressive, that, men have privilege and all of this, right? I get you. Yeah.
I just find it hilarious that her avatar of male privilege is a short, brown, autistic man who's rather chubby, because I'm pretty sure that overlaps with most incels, or the majority of incels. And I don't mean that as a slight against incels. They're just, they have...
Or against short, pudgy Asian men. It's
who have autism.
Yeah, it's just a reality that needs to be addressed because, just like East Asian women and women of a certain age are like highly coveted. They're like found to be super attractive and, other women from other ethnicities and backgrounds, not as much. Right. So it's just
still the top of the hierarchy still is white men and white women. I know it seems weird, but it's black men are discriminated. Well, not discriminated against, but they are not apparently desirable mates, nor are black women. Asian women are. So it's basically white men, white women, and Asian women. And everybody else can just, rot in hell, being called an incel terrorist. I just find it really remarkable that she's managed to basically turn herself into check most of the boxes that the average incel checks. Except she's probably a lot less charming or kind.
Yeah.
Or emotionally, emotionally self-aware.
Yeah.
God damn. Mindy, you're more of an incel than an incel. Okay, let's go. Oh, did they call him Mandy? Manny.
No crown, no hole.
What?
Oh.
Okay, so no, this is the blonde kid.
But the dad, his dad is like, if you don't have the homecoming crown, don't come home, right? Like you're kicked out.
Yep.
Like so, that happens.
Well, but it is an interesting metaphor for, even though this guy is apparently the most privileged person in this town, he's discriminated against his parents who just see him in terms of his achievement. But of course, Mindy does not recognize, or doesn't even that she wrote that in.
Well, she wrote
She wants
it
to
in.
insult
She
him
does
so much.
realize it. She's just like, the reason why Fred is so, dysfunctional is because his parents are white and mean.
Okay, just give me a second because I think I hear an echo, and I want to just double check to make sure that I don't have it. I'll play a couple more seconds, and then you guys can discuss amongst yourselves. Okay, just a sec. Here we go.
Can I at least get my jade roller and $10,000 for emergencies?
Manny for king of the world.
Okay, discuss amongst yourselves. Lead runner and apparently had the ability to fire people. It would be great to see Manny's Me Tooing, but I guess that's not going to happen.
Well, honestly, I think this is weird because, like, this gets into the sort of the new ground of trans youth, right? Where girls with a touch of the tism, and maybe some other underlying issues with self-concept, like depression or anxiety or social anxiety or whatever, right? End up being convinced that if they just do what Velma did here, right, their lives would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. You know what? What a surprise!
Their lives would be just that wonderful. They'd win homecoming king. Everyone
Like every man does.
Everyone would like them. Nobody would pick on them or bully them, and all of their problems would be resolved, right? Because they couldn't just have clinical depression or an anxiety disorder from, I don't know, a history of childhood trauma or whatever, right? It can't be anything like that. It has to be that they would really be truly happy and outgoing and all of that other stuff if they just
became men.
Yeah,
and it's probably it is probably a contributing factor. Maybe this is some secret grooming stuff going on here for teenage girls.
Yeah.
So this is not a dream sequence or something? Because
no, she's actually doing this. No, she's actually doing this.
All right. Okay.
Velma is actually. This is not a dream. This is Velma actually doing stuff.
All right.
Yeah, this is Velma actually doing stuff.
And why is she dressing up like a man? She just wants to make this point to her classmates?
Does she need a reason?
No, I mean, I thought that maybe there was a plot thing.
I think there was, and I probably knew it at one point, but I don't remember.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I assume it's just to stick it to the man.
I was just curious. Yeah, I mean, that's good enough on its own, isn't it?
Well, you don't need plot when you have resentment.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want, again, to remind everyone we are doing our monthly fundraiser. So far, we haven't received anything, so always makes me a little bit nervous. So please, we'd really appreciate it if you would go to feedthebadger.com/support. Just take a few moments to go to the website, take a look at the options. It's a big weight off of my mind when we finally get that done, because it does make sure that we can continue to do this show. And I do want to continue to do this show because I believe in my heart of hearts that that's such a corny saying, isn't it? I believe that the things that we talk about and how we talk about them is at the core of the problems that we're facing today. You cannot fix society until you fix the relationship between men and women. And you cannot fix the relationship between men and women until you are honest about it. And if we were unable to continue to talk about these things, we would be closing down one of the longest running platforms keeping this message alive. And that I think that would be very unfortunate. So please, it's up to you to make sure that we can continue to do this. Go to feedthebadger.com/support, and $5 every bit helps. So don't think that whatever you contribute isn't good enough. I know that people contribute what they can. And I just do hope you find this message important enough to make sure that it continues to exist. And again, I'm very thankful to everyone who opens up their wallets every month and puts it. It's pretty astounding that you have actually allowed this message to go on for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
So there's we aren't going to stop until God strikes us dead.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah, or alternatively, will be significantly muted if we aren't able to pay our bills each month. But hopefully you will make sure that doesn't happen. So please go to feedthebadger.com. And thank you to everyone who goes and helps us out. All right. You want to do a bit more? I know you don't want to. Are you braced?
Well, may as well.
Okay.
I bet you'd be great at fucking.
Oh, did you see the pun? Fog King fucking? Ha ha ha.
Oh.
Yeah, Velma's also apparently a lesbian because...
Is she? Not surprised.
Yeah, because they wanted to have heterosexual content, so they made her a lesbian. As you know, women
There's nothing
liking
about
men
these
is
characters,
gay.
I just want to say. None of them are anything like their original Scooby-Doo counterparts. None of them.
No.
So it's almost like these are just... They're just using the
Caricatures?
license.
Caricatures?
Yeah,
they're not even caricatures.
They're not caricatures. They're just using the likenesses and inserting entirely different. They're like pod people.
Yeah, they're just using the brand, and they're just doing their own thing. Like they're not even close to the characters. And yes, that means Velma too, because this just isn't like none of this looks familiar.
Well, Velma was always sort of a know-it-all, but she was, but it was
deserved.
Not unsympathetic.
It was deserved. She was smart. She wasn't just saying she was smart.
Yeah, and we also, I think there was also contemplation among teenagers as to whether Velma was a lesbian. I mean, let's just be real.
No,
it's like Peppermint Patty in the Peanuts comics, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, no, it's like you have this situation where it's just like now it's like super blatant. I'm hoping that Velma is actually a lesbian and not trans, because then she won't get a double mastectomy and sterilize herself for life. Although maybe somebody that ridiculous probably shouldn't have offspring. So
I think that's probably season 2. And incidentally, I read that the fact that they've been given a second season is meaningless. They already have it made, so it was going out no matter what.
Yeah.
I know that they're crowing about this, but no, it wasn't the hate watching that gave them a second season. At least according to some rumors, it was just the fact that they'd already created the second season. And I guess you might as well put it out there and turn people off your network entirely rather than just hide it and say, you know what, we made a huge mistake. Please, we won't put our boil-lined ass in your face anymore.
Well, like people, it's a streaming service, so people can watch or not as they choose.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, true.
You know, so it's
some
like
people will leave out of disgust for this.
Oh,
and also, how much like
I don't think this rises to the level of cuties. So,
well, okay. Let me ask you something. How much more on the nose is this stuff going to get? Can get, to be honest. Like, how much more on the nose can this get? I thought, what was it? That other self-insert. She-Hulk. I thought that was on the nose, and then this comes out. Yeah. What's the next thing? I mean, it's like it's just cannibalizing the plot. It's just basically we're gonna give you a 6-hour PSA about how men have it easy and women have so hard.
Yeah.
Just to maintain the fiction of reality, or what we consider to be reality. Okay.
Hey,
All right.
so I should probably go before this goes too far.
You know what occurs to me? It almost looks like these are a trans man and a trans woman.
That's probably just the skill of the artist.
I know, but look, did you see that too? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay.
Far, I mean. Whoa.
Oh, unlike a man, he's not going to push her into Mandy, Mindy as a man. Manny is not going to rape Velma or Daphne.
But he did
Because,
he
yeah.
touched her. She didn't give him consent for that.
Well, I mean, Mindy has already demonstrated she'll sexually assault people, so I'm not exactly sure why Mandy wouldn't. I guess she's making a statement about consent. All right, let's go.
Hey, you're like drunker than a cool babysitter. You okay?
Honestly,
Was that supposed to be
Manny.
funny?
I'm drinking because I've had a terrible couple of weeks. I know we just met, but can you keep a secret?
Am I?
Oh, God. Red flag. Run, Manny. I'm a woman just pretending to be a man. Okay.
Am I a woman?
Am
just
I a
pretending
woman?
to be a man? I mean, yes.
Okay, so I'm adopted,
Oh,
and I
this is like an
located my
alter ego,
birth
okay.
parents. But
Okay, so this is like supposedly plot, but I don't give a fuck. But I know that there's a section of this conversation that is relevant to our interests. So I'm just gonna pause where we have to. Maybe there'll be something interesting in this.
Okay,
Segue.
Daphne was adopted, and her birth parents turned out to be criminals.
Okay, can I tell you something? What is astounding about this show is it actually makes its bullshit imaginings about reality more interesting than the actual plot.
Yeah.
Well,
they turned out to be
there's more to comment on than to
Oh
watch.
my god. Why would
Yeah.
you tell Velma? That super cool and attentive bestie you mentioned.
I've tried, but unless you're helping her find her dumb mom, she has no time for you.
Okay, well, missing mom is pretty big.
Oh, so Velma has actually become a more decent human being by becoming a man, a more attentive, caring. This is like the most, when she doesn't even know what she's writing, she's actually writing reality. It's fascinating. It's like the reverse id. Okay.
Criminal parents also abandoned me, like I was a puppy after quarantine.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, is that supposed to be a joke?
Um,
I'm sorry. But is that bigger than... No, you're right. A good friend would have been there for you even if your thing wasn't worse than her thing.
Wait, you mean she loses both of her parents and that's not bigger than Velma losing her mom?
well,
It's
except
not
for
bigger?
Daphne.
Oh my fucking god. You know what?
Except for Daphne was adopted by two loving parents.
Okay. I'm just going to point something out, and I think it speaks to your statement, Karen. Look at this. Velma has become a man, and suddenly he's recognizing consequences and accountability for his behavior.
Yeah, no, that's why I think that there's a possibility that this is all a subvertive, anti-progressive parody.
Yeah, because it could just be this fantasy section. It was just absolutely, maybe it was like a dream section or a fantasy section. So this is what Velma thinks men's lives are like. But this is the reality. Is this, as a man, she's suddenly face to face with the consequences of her actions and suddenly inclined to take responsibility for them. Who knew? Okay.
Still,
All
this
right.
Velma kind of sucks.
Thank you, Manny. I can't believe I told you, but I feel like we have this crazy connection. Do you feel it too?
Ugh.
I
Weren't
feel
they
like
at,
I'm
like a
being...
dance or something? Are they still there?
Yeah, they're at a dance. I don't know.
But look, I really need to tell you
The
something.
like they're
setting
on a
details are a little
dock.
confusing.
I'd be super psyched to kiss you right now.
I bet you would. Velma!
Ow! That's my actual mustache, Fred. I just didn't shave it.
I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for your meddling.
Oh my god!
That's pretty good.
Okay, that was amusing. That's my actual mustache, Fred. I just didn't shave it.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh my. Okay, that was good.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
Mindy, you
that's
have
like
one.
the first fucking joke in the entire show. Oh,
Okay. All right.
Yes. I've dreamt of those calloused longshoremen's hands touching my face for weeks, so as soon as she slapped me, I knew.
I'm so sorry, Daphne.
What? He wants to have sex with her?
yeah, he wants to have sex with Velma, apparently.
Everybody
Oh,
wants
and now-
Velma now.
Because she's
Okay,
got,
s-
like, she's got hands like, you know, like
Can you just
Mel Gibson.
like a
can you
14th,
just
like a 14th century laundress in winter,
okay.
hanging up clothes. So
All right. So can you just imagine Mindy being like, "I'm going to take this script to my bunk, like I'm writing
okay.
myself being desired by everybody attractive in the show."
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true. That is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay,
Dad
so now we're
offers
back.
too, so
So okay, so Daphne just sort of dumped all of her emotional baggage on this guy, and now she's back to contempt for men because, of course, right?
I'd punch you if men didn't sexualize women fighting.
Baby.
What the fuck does that even? You don't think women don't sexualize men fighting?
oh God, no. There's a reason why Greco-Roman wrestling is like super hot, and
I know that
MMA.
Turkish oil wrestling, like I'm pretty sure the Turks have to know what they're doing. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean like
Come on, you're
like
acting hysterical. Damn it.
Okay, so now that Mindy remembers that Manny is a man, she's going back for all of the stupid stereotypes. Even though for a second we saw Velma actually take responsibility and develop a sense of accountability for herself
and
as
self-awareness.
a male character. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and now to officially announce this year's Fog King. You all know who it is.
Wait! Mother! Everyone! I just learned that Manny is actually Velma Dinkley in disguise and ineligible to be Fog King.
Now, hold on a second. If Manny's a female interloper, is, or is not, the serial killer a ghost?
Look, if we're being honest, just like everything else these days, the serial killer is whatever you need it to be to feel your best. And speaking of your best, who wants to make me Fog King?
We are...
Wow. He's already the best character in the show.
Yeah.
He's fucking hilarious. Ridiculous.
Wood, Fred.
Yeah.
Yes!
And you know why it works? Because you're not supposed to root for his chauvinistically hilarious ridiculousness.
Yeah.
You know,
But
his selfishness. It's like you're just supposed to be amused by it. And
Yeah,
yet, if you want to have the moral high ground, you can't do it by creating a chauvinistic, selfish, sexist character who pontificates self-righteously about the opposite sex. You know, hear that, man, Mindy? That just not going to make a sympathetic character. You can make a character who's chauvinistic, sexist, pontificates about the opposite sex in a negative way, and you can present him as somebody you can enjoy vicariously their tomfoolery, but you can't do it if you're trying to say a legitimate point. Do you get what I'm saying? What I'm laying down?
Yeah, no, it's because you're not supposed to take Freddy seriously.
No, you're supposed to take, when Velma says crap about the patriarchy, I assume Mindy intends us to take that seriously. That's what makes her so hateable.
All right,
Because
but again, what if her whole point is to turn the feminist patriarchy narrative on its head? Right? Maybe these were not unintentional mistakes due to bad writing. Is there a possibility that this entire show is lambasting progressive feminism?
it's a possibility. I know that a lot of people on the left are upset about it. It's,
Yeah,
I guess,
they
too
are.
on the
They
nose.
are.
I just find it fascinating how she's unconsciously writing tropes that make her story, like when she's not being self-conscious about her particular political message, these tropes are dragging her story a certain way. Like suddenly Velma as Manny is taking responsibility for himself. This guy, what the heck is his name?
Freddie.
I forget his name. Freddie is actually the funniest. Fred is actually the funniest and in some ways almost like interesting character in the show. And she doesn't even realize she's doing this.
How it goes for the white men or the men that they're trying to like make into the comedy relief or put on the back burner. They end up being the most appealing characters.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's I'll do a bit more.
If we hadn't just given it to Noble, he rescued a girl who fell off the pier.
Oh, I guess he's another asshole guy who deliberately did something in order to be a hero for it.
Yeah, he pushed the girl off the pier and then he jumped in and rescued her.
Yeah, so I guess we're at this point we're supposed to ruminate upon the general worthlessness of the half of the human race that keeps everything running.
Oh, thank you. First and foremost, I need to say you're welcome to my deserving Fog Queen, Gigi. I knew this crown would restore your self-worth. Gigi, are you out there?
Okay, I don't care about this. Let me see if I can zoom to the next portion. Here we go.
Daphne, I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you I was Manny, but as a guy, there's so little consequence for your actions. I was like, I'd be an idiot not to at least try and go for it. Bubba.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so little consequence for your actions as a man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It actually occurs to me that if it was left up to women, I don't think we'd have a justice system. Because if you think about it, a justice system is men keeping other men to account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Mostly. And I despair about women actually keeping each other to account, especially when this seems to be the expression of my sex in this day and age. Like this is it. This is what our society says women are. Like so vapid, so solipsistic, so self-involved, so incapable of recognizing anything outside of themselves that they can make a statement like this. Like there is absolutely not a single shred of evidence for this individual statement except her own delusions about gender. Unless you're right, and this is some kind of send-up of progressive attitudes, period.
I'm just saying, if that's it, like, that would make perfect sense if that's what it was aiming to do, so.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I'm like, this one's a little bit... What do you do after this? Like... You honestly think, okay, Mindy, you honestly think men have no consequences to their actions? The fact that men are more likely to end up in jail and spend 60% more time for equivalent criminal backgrounds and equivalent criminal activities as women? Like, that doesn't, I bet you don't even know that.
Yeah,
I bet you don't even bother to research that.
No, and then if she did, feminist, during that panel discussion with Mike Buchanan, after I think it was a screening of The Red Pill, right, in Nottingham or something, right, and he said, well, you know, men are sentenced to more time than women. They're more likely to be stopped, more likely to be arrested, more likely to be charged, more likely to be prosecuted, given less advantageous plea deals, more likely to be convicted, and then when they are convicted, they're more likely to be sentenced to prison time, and when they are sentenced to prison time, they serve 60% more time. right? And that if men were treated exactly the same way as women were in Britain in the criminal justice system, 5 out of every 6 men currently in prison would not be there, right? So what do you say to that? And this feminist says, well, the majority of judges aren't women; they're men.
Oh, for love
And
of
it's
God.
like,
Okay.
yeah, way to prove my point. There is no fucking patriarchy that oppresses women, right? If the patriarchy oppresses anybody, it oppresses men.
Men in power do not benefit other men. They enforce the gender role of sacrifice on them.
Yep.
Okay? That's what men in power do. Men in power do not act like women in power. In many cases, women in power give beanies to other women. Men in power don't.
My husband and I just watched Chernobyl, right? And so, very good series. I would recommend it. But, they're trying to figure out, because they can't seal off the reactor core, right? They can't just dump a bunch of stuff on it, concrete on it, until they get all of the radioactive graphite off the roof and kick it back down into the core, right? So they try and get robots because, of course, the state lied when they were asking for help from other countries. Do you have any robots that can withstand 2,000 Roentgens of radiation? When they knew that the radioactivity on the roof was 12,000 Roentgens, right? But they didn't want to let on that it was that bad, because then you're letting on that something's like really, really, really bad, and you don't want to. You're the Soviet Union. You don't want to let on, right? So they borrow a robot from Germany, West Germany, and they stick it on the roof, and it dies within like 30 seconds because the radioactivity just like kills all the circuits. And they're like, oh shit, what do we do now? And the one guy says, we send human robots. We send men up onto the roof to shovel all that shit off.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent teams of men that were given 90 seconds each. They were in full radiation gear, 90 seconds each to shovel as much graphite off the roof and down into the core as possible before the bell rang and their 90 seconds was up, and then they had to hurry and get back. And one of them tore his suit, and they were like, yeah, no, you're done. You're not going back in. Everybody else is going back in on their next shift, right? And they sent in team after team after team after team to clean off that roof. And you're looking at hundreds of men who lived, most of whom died before the age of 40 from cancer because of that. And then the miners who actually tunneled underneath and, got water through their tunnels to cool the rods and prevent a complete meltdown, right? So you're looking at all of these men, every single one of them a man, sacrificed, right? Because they were there and they were told, if we don't do this, millions of people will die, right? And the land for 2,000 miles is going to be uninhabitable, or 2,000 kilometers will be uninhabitable for 10,000 to 15,000 years.
No money would get those guys to do that.
No,
there's the only thing.
You know what they were offered. You know what they were offered? A bonus of 800 rubles. 800
they did it.
No, of course it's not why they did it. But it's like, but that's what they were offered, 800 rubles. So it's like, well, what was a ruble worth in 1986?
Yeah.
Like what fraction of a dollar was a ruble worth in 1986?
Well, what fraction of a dollar is it worth now, really?
Yeah, but
Right.
it's like what could you buy with a ruble?
Not
Mhm.
much.
Yeah,
But
not a whole lot. Like you're looking at like my mother-in-law took me and my husband out for his birthday the other night, and she left the waiter a $100 tip, and that probably made his day because the bill was only like $315 or something like that, right? And she left him $100. That made his day. And you look at the value of a ruble, what it'll buy you compared to what a dollar will buy you, and 800 rubles, really? 800
yeah.
rubles in exchange for like dying of cancer before you're 40.
Well, it's probably if you go through all the exchanges in the length of time, it might have been worth $800.
Yeah.
Not $800 at the time, but it might be worth $800 now comparatively.
Yeah, but okay, $800, really?
Yeah, even if it was $800.
None of those men did that for $800. They did it because they're taking responsibility for their families and their communities. Something that Mindy couldn't possibly comprehend in a million years. And I honestly don't unless, like you said, this is some deep troll,
a deep fake troll parody.
Yeah.
But I don't think so.
I got some super chats. I'd like to read them.
I'm sorry, like Karen, you've just made me hate this woman. I absolutely am at the point where I'm starting to really loathe women who present this fiction about reality and ignore just how much men's sacrifice has gotten us to this point.
Yeah.
And things that we would 100% not have if we weren't willing to sacrifice men. We wouldn't have a tunnel under the Thames. I know that sounds weird, but I saw a documentary on how many men died building that tunnel under that river. We wouldn't have it if and we wouldn't have a train, like we wouldn't have a railway system without men dying. We wouldn't have fighter jets without men dying. We wouldn't have an astronaut program without men dying. Like we wouldn't have a modern era without men's sacrifice.
Right. So, you're looking at a situation where it's like people had to do it. It was the same thing with the Fukushima explosion, right? They didn't have a meltdown. They had men go in. Those men are almost certain. They went in knowing that, okay, so within 10 years I'll be dead from cancer.
And that's what men do. And we look at that and I can't believe that any woman can go and say, I have the right to have as much authority over society as men. When men are routinely expected to make these sacrifices. So when they are in positions of authority, I imagine, at least when this was still happening, those men are much more likely to actually serve the people and communities that they're part of than the group of people that is never expected to make these kinds of sacrifices.
Well, and I would just point to an article in 1903, I believe, in the Atlantic magazine. Okay, I think it was 1903. Might have been 1913. Called "Why Women Do Not Wish the Suffrage," and it goes into gender roles for quite a long time, right? And all of that, but then it starts to get into the good stuff. Starts to get into women are exempt from the military. Women are exempt from the police. They can't be deputized. Women are exempt from posse comitatus. They're exempt from the draft. When it comes to the role of government, right, particularly federal government, its role, it can do other things, right? But if it does not protect person, property, and reputation from criminal attack or secret fraud, okay, then if it does not do those three things, then it's not a just government, and it can only do those three things through the exertion of force. And when it comes to the exertion of force, including deadly force, who is called, right? Who is called to do that? Who is coerced? Decisions to be imposed on the people who are not exempt from them.
Okay.
Yeah, although, to be honest, there is one argument, and unfortunately feminism negates it utterly. One argument for putting women in positions of power. Men in positions of power are perfectly happy to enforce expendability on other men.
Yeah, but they're not. But they're not willing to enforce expendability on women.
Yeah, but we in some cases. So, for example, if a man is experiencing domestic violence, he's better off with a female cop than a male cop.
Yeah, and a female divorce lawyer rather than a male.
Sometimes
one.
also a female judge, but depending on whether or not they're indoctrinated in feminism, because feminism has certainly cultivated women's minds to maintain this kind of attitude of sacrifice of men. Which is really interesting, because society that requires the sacrifice of men is, of course, going to prioritize anything that maintains that sacrifice. So it's almost like feminism is the organism creating a homeostasis. Oh, women can go in, but women might actually have sympathy for men and stop enforcing this expendability. So we better create something to convince them that it's still necessary, right?
I wouldn't call it a homeostasis. I'd call it metastasis. It's like cancer. Cancer, it gets everywhere.
Yeah, but that would be the only reason I would. If feminism hadn't have happened, I would say that having women in positions of power wouldn't be as bad as it is.
As it is now. Yeah, no, it probably still would have been bad. Like Europe's queens were like 27% more likely to wage war than Europe's kings, and they were more likely to acquire land by conquest than Europe's kings, right? Like women.
Well, I mean, you could also argue at the time that sort of that was like the tenor of the time as well, too.
Yeah, sure, yeah, but given the time, Europe's queens waged more wars and acquired more territory via conquest than the kings that were their peers, their contemporaneous peers, right? So you're looking at a situation where, men are weighing the decisions, women are maybe not weighing them as much because they don't have the time to. Men, male royalty, were actually encouraged to train in martial arts, right? They were encouraged to train to fight and to ride at the front of the battalion. Okay, they were supposed to be courageous enough. If they were going to conquer something, if they were going to wage war, they were expected to be front and center in the vanguard. They were expected to be able to swing a sword. Right? This was not the case for women. Women did not have an upbringing in actually fighting, actually taking the blows, actually feeling really, really sore, for maybe weeks after, a training session, right? They just were completely divorced from that whole life for the most part, and so I don't think that they had necessarily a full understanding of the cost to individuals. And then, of course, men are expendable, so that's their role. So
I'm going to drag this back on topic.
All right.
And I do have a few thank yous before we do. I would like to thank Egregious Charles for putting in $100 in the kitty. So thank you, Egregious Charles. Oh, and if you would like to join our very generous supporters, it's once again feedthebadger.com/support. Very appreciated if you can put a few shekels in the hat for this month. Crumpler, Crump gave us a $10. Thank you, Crump. Joe C, that's all I'll say, gave us $50. Thank you, Josie. I think you're new, unless this is a new email address. But thank you, Josie. We are now 335 from our 1,335. We didn't get that far. And please do, if you are able, help us out at feedthebadger.com/support, because we exist because you allow us to. That's why we can continue to have this content very regularly and attempt to build up a community around it, which I think will become more and more apparent how critical it is as the chaos around us grow. I think people have noticed that it's getting a little chaotic.
I got some super chats when you guys are ready.
Good.
All right. Egregious Charles gives us $5 and says, the left keeps saying that this show is a secret right-wing psyop to get it off their hands. Nah, I don't think so. But nice try. Polaris589 gives us $5 and says, male Velma, quote, there's so little consequences for my actions as a man, end quote. Cut to male Velma getting shot by the cop.
Appropriate and have had, people would have cared.
I don't know that people. Okay, yeah. Okay, ages ago, people probably would have cared. There actually were laws against,
Yeah, but they were only enforced if a woman actually cheated another woman out of, like, if they married another woman, then they were enforced. Otherwise, they just pretended it wasn't happening. But what I meant is that if, let's say, men had privilege that they were protecting, and then they found out a woman had appropriated privilege that they felt she didn't have a right to, I think that Velma would have had the shit kicked out of her at the very least.
Yeah,
it was discovered. But that probably didn't occur to Mindy, that's actually the way humans act when they discover someone is appropriating privilege that they don't think they should have.
There you go.
They arrest them, or they beat them, or rape them with a branch, something. But nothing happened to Velma. They were just like, oh, okay, I guess this is Velma's new thing. She dresses as a man.
Hey, that was her mustache that she just didn't shave, and Fred ripped it right off. I think she's suffered enough.
Booey!
You know, the sad thing is, I'm not even mad at you. I'm mad at myself for letting you find yet another way to disappoint me.
Oh! Aw. Look at that.
Oh, she's so
You're
sad.
A dick. You're a dick. Well, it would lasted a bit. Mandy actually was taking responsibility for yourself, but we're back with Mindy now. Okay, I'm gonna close off this one. Might have some weird effects that happen. Dupe, and then I'm gonna open this one. Can you see this one?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't want to show that.
Of luck in all your future endeavors.
Okay, there we go. So now we're on the 10th episode, and I wanted to show you guys this because of the conclusion of this shitty show. And it does something that narratively is really interesting. It actually has the villain and Velma. Oh, this is a great scene to sort of stop on. By the way, Brian, is this too large?
No.
Is it too zoomed in?
No,
Okay,
it looks fine. It fits.